Brent crude just broke $101 a barrel. That's the highest price since May, and it happened in a single trading session. Before we dive in, I need to be clear, I am not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only. Investing involves risk, so always do your own research before making any financial decisions. Okay, so here's what actually happened. Houthi rebels in Yemen hit 2 Saudi oil tankers, ships literally named Encilia and Layla, in the Red Sea. One of them caught fire, and this isn't some isolated incident. This is a new front opening up in a war that's already been running since February between the US and Iran. You've probably felt gas prices creeping up this summer and just chalked it up to summer driving season, right? Wrong. This is bigger than that. Let me explain why this specific attack matters more than a normal headline. The Strait of Hormuz has already been half choked off for months because of the broader Iran conflict. Now, the fighting has spread to a second choke point entirely, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which carries something like 12 to 15% of all global shipping every single year. So this isn't one bottleneck anymore. It's two at the same time on opposite ends of the same supply chain. Here's the thing most headlines won't tell you. In my view, having watched 3 of these oil shocks now, 2008, 2011, and the 2022 spike after Russia invaded Ukraine, there's a pattern that repeats almost every single time. The oil headline hits day 1. Nobody panics. Prices at the pump take a week or 2 to catch up. Then 6 to 8 weeks later, the grocery bill quietly jumps. And by then, everyone's forgotten the tanker attack that started it. That lag is the part nobody's pricing in emotionally. And it's the part I think you should actually be watching, because it means today's headline is really a preview of your September budget, not your July one. So what does that mean for you? It means the pain you feel isn't today. It's coming. Here's the number that matters right now, though. National average gas price is sitting around $4.11 a gallon. California's pushing past $5.50. Hawaii's even worse. And remember, back in 2022, the national average briefly crossed $5, and that alone became a defining economic story of the year. We're not there, but we're not far off either. And a growing chorus of strategists are floating $8 to $10 a gallon as the level where this really starts to bite the broader economy. We are not there yet. I want to be honest about that. But 6 months ago, nobody was talking about $100 oil either, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's impossible. Would you still feel calm about your monthly budget if gas jumped another $1.50 by Labor Day? Drop that in the comments. I think people are underestimating how fast this moves. Now here's my contrarian take, and honestly, it's the part I think everyone's missing. Everybody's staring at the Houthi headline like that's the whole story. It's not, in my opinion. The real story is timing. This spike is landing in the exact same week the Fed, under brand new chair Kevin Warsh, is deciding whether to cut interest rates. And Warsh has already signaled he's not eager to cut. If oil-driven inflation gives him political and economic cover to hold rates even higher for even longer, that's the actual hit to your wallet, not the pump price. The borrowing cost sitting quietly behind everything else, your credit card APR, your car loan, your mortgage rate if you're shopping for one. There's a behavioral pattern here too, and I'll be honest, it's a little backwards. My personal take is that when gas prices spike, people rarely cut back on driving. Driving feels non-negotiable. Work, school runs, life doesn't pause. Instead, they quietly trim the grocery budget, skip the Target run, cut the Starbucks habit, cancel the streaming subscription they forgot about anyway. So the gas price crisis actually shows up first as a grocery and discretionary spending crisis, weeks before it shows up as a driving crisis. That's the opposite of what you'd expect. And it's exactly why restaurant and retail stocks tend to feel oil shocks before energy stocks even move. Here's where I'll connect 3 dots that I don't think anyone else is connecting together. Oil's spiking, the Fed staying hawkish, and millions of Americans on the Save Student Loan Plan just got notices that they have 90 days to switch repayment plans or get bumped into higher monthly payments starting this fall. Higher gas, higher for longer interest rates, and higher loan payments, all landing on the same households around the same few months this September and October. I've started calling this the triple squeeze. It's not an official term, it's just how I personally think about it. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yee? Have you noticed how these things never seem to hit one at a time anymore? That's not a coincidence, in my opinion. That's just how squeezed the average household budget has become. Now let's actually be fair here, because I promised I wouldn't hype you into panic. There's a real bull case for oil calming down. One day after this spike, Brent actually slipped back below $100 as some of that fear eased. Markets overreact to headlines constantly, and geopolitical spikes have a long history of fading just as fast as they appear. OPEC Plus has room to increase output if it wants to. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve exists specifically for moments exactly like this one, but the skeptical case deserves just as much airtime. This isn't a normal supply hiccup. It's an active, expanding war hitting two of the world's most critical shipping choke points at the same time. Goldman Sachs has floated a scenario where Brent rallies past $120 by the fourth quarter if this doesn't cool off. That's not a prediction. It's a real possibility sitting on the table, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest of me. Oh, is this a spike that fades in a few weeks or the start of something that reshapes energy prices for the rest of the year? I don't actually know, and I'd be lying if I told you I did. Nobody does yet. Here's my personal money rule, for what it's worth. Whenever gas crosses $4.50 a gallon where I live, I automatically add a 5% buffer to my monthly budget until it comes back down. It's not scientific. It's just a trigger that stops me from getting blindsided a month later when the credit card statement shows up bigger than expected. You might pick a different number for your own situation, but having any trigger at all beats having none. So where does that leave you? Not with a stock tip. I'm not going to tell you to buy or sell anything here, and honestly, you should be skeptical of anyone who does. Here's what I'm personally watching over the next 30 to 90 days, for whatever it's worth. First, whether Brent holds above or below that $100 line, that's the psychological marker traders are glued to. Second, whether the White House or OPEC makes any real move on reserves or output, because that's the fastest lever anyone can actually pull. Third, what tone the Fed strikes in its next statement, because that single paragraph tells us whether this inflation scare is temporary noise or something stickier. If you're someone who invests in energy adjacent sectors or index funds that happen to be weighted toward oil and gas, this is the moment to actually read the filings instead of reacting emotionally to a headline. Understand the risk. Understand that geopolitical situations like this one are famously unpredictable and famously capable of reversing overnight in either direction. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has a crystal ball on how a war in the Middle East plays out over the next year. Anyone telling you they do with total confidence is selling you something. So do your own digging. Watch the actual data, EIA reports, AAA's daily tracker, not just the scary headline of the day, and figure out where your own financial cushion stands right now before the next one hits. That's the real story here, not the panic, the preparation.